right, good morning. From the lobbies and vestibules of Manhattan to the rooftops of Brooklyn, this is Good Morning Super, the podcast that shines the light on the people who keep New York City's building up and running from day to day. Every other week, your hosts, Peter Gresh, Roberto Cardona, Mimi O'Connor, and me, James Park, sit down with supers, porters, and property managers to talk shop, share stories, and reveal what it really takes to keep the city moving. Peter Gresh has 47 years in building operations, having been a doorman, handyman, chief engineer, and finally resident manager of a luxury high-rise in New York City, and he's taught at the local 32BJ and is the founder of this Superintendent's Technical Association, commonly referred to as the STA. Mimi O'Connor is a writer and editor specializing in real estate and culture and is a longtime contributor to New York City real estate site Brick Underground. All right. Good morning.
Good morning, James, Mimi, and good morning, supers.
All right, thank you. Let me just adjust this real quick. All right. How's everyone doing?
Keeping warm.
Okay. Well,
Trying to
great.
stay cool.
Trying to stay. Well, can we explain the difference between the two comments right there? It's too cold. It's too hot.
I am reporting from snowy upstate New York, Rochester, where it's like 10 degrees.
Wow.
And I'm reporting from Clearwater, Florida, where it's about 70 degrees and almost sunny.
Wow.
I'm
Peter,
on
this
vacation.
is life after retirement for supers, right?
Yes,
And
it
resident
is.
managers.
Which I keep saying, telling people, a superintendent job, a resident manager job is not a bad job at all.
Hmm.
It's a good job. Even porters or a handyman or a doorman, it's a respectable, but it's a good job, especially if you're in a union building. I know so many guys who are porters and handymen, doormen, who sent their kids to college, who at the end retired down either to Puerto Rico or down here in Florida and elsewhere and have a comfortable life. Not a rich life, but a comfortable. So you too can be a super.
And you won't be replaced by a
Nope. Or a robot.
It'll take a lot of servers to replicate Peter Gresh,
As we get into space, the moon,
if that
Mars,
made sense.
who are you gonna call when the toilet gets clogged up? The super. Now the super may have 3 degrees in engineering and everything else, but he's still gonna be doing the functions of a super.
Well, why can't
It's
you just
interesting.
put a little robot that's the size of a tennis ball or a golf ball that crawls down the toilet drain and is able to detect a clog, uh, turn itself into some sort of auger, and then kind of clear it by themselves? Is it
One,
Elon Musk creating something like this in the
I,
pipeline
why
for
not
the
have
next
a
five
toilet
years?
why not have a toilet that's a transformer and it'll clean itself? I mean, it may even wipe your own backside.
Well, you do already have that. It's called the bidet.
Yeah, yeah, and a blower too.
Yeah, and a blower. So you have, I mean, you're it's kind of on its way, but you're right. I mean, it's clearing the clog. But it makes sense because it's gross to use a plunger, and if you have to use that auger, you're gonna scratch your porcelain bowl.
Not
So,
if you do it right, you don't scratch it. And if you buy a good one, not a cheap one, it'll have a rubber flange at the end, so the rubber will. It's only those cheap ones that will scratch.
This makes me think we really need to do a toilet episode. You guys are getting into it, talking about the specifics.
Look, a long time ago at City Tech, I was teaching about plumbing, and I set up a toilet bowl with some water in there, and I put a Snickers bar in there. So when the students came in, I said the only way you can analyze what's wrong with the toilet is you got to put your hand in and grab that doo doo and pull it out, and here it is, and you got to like smell it, taste it, and I was told by City Tech never to do that again.
Mm. You're allowed to do it
But it worked
here
well.
if you want to. But okay, why did they say not to? What was the reason?
A lot of people felt sick
Oh, that was it.
and disgusted. So I
Well,
guess
I don't know what you're doing in a class about plumbing if you're going to get grossed out about.
because Mimi, you know, we're talking about poop, but normal people poop normally, and some people that with certain medications don't poop normally. And when you go there and everything's all over the floor or just looking at you, you could quite throw up yourself.
But
I had a handy.
if you can't handle that,
You're in the wrong
you may not
profession.
be cut out
Well, I
for a
had a
super.
building with I had a building with three handymen, and there was Danny, um, Joe, and Ralph. Danny and Joe never did the toilets. They used to pay Ralph $10 each for him to go and do the toilet stoppages.
Okay. Well, look, if you have someone to do
And
that for you, then why not? But if you're
one,
the last resort and you refuse to do it, I think you really shouldn't be in the trade. I mean, we should talk about all the disgusting things that superintendents have to go through, particularly superintendent, and because they often have to do everything and wear many hats. But aside from toilet, like catching vermin, we had one building where the rat was cut in half, and it was struggling and squeaking, and because I forgot how it happened, but it was at a building, uh, and they heard this squeaking or the squealing, and then they realized this trap had caught. I mean, and then you have to clear that, right? I mean,
yep,
rather than waiting for the exterminator. So poop, you know, rats.
pe- people that commit suicide or jump off the building.
Yeah,
The
but
the the, the
that's
yeah,
more
but
police.
feet, feet,
Well, yeah, that's true though. I
fire,
mean, you do find.
fire department, fire department, EMS, and everybody else don't clean up everything. Don't clean up everything, and I can attest to that because we had a jumper. It was summer. She hit the side of the building, and part of her brains came into people's apartments on their Venetian blinds.
Come on.
Yeah, I don't.
I
I think that's a understandable line where if you refuse to do that, I don't blame the super. That
Yep,
that's a little crossing the
but
line of
but it,
um
but
because
again, that's
yeah.
go on, James.
No, no, no. I've heard of those incidents. I've always wondered
Yeah.
what happened. Um,
Well, in that building, when the Venetian blinds and everything, like it's the same building that we had three. I had three handymen, and the men went in there and they scraped off and wiped out everything and threw it into a. Yeah, yeah, it happened to us. It's a true story. It so they put everything into a garbage bag. I called the church and I said, "What do I do with this?" And the priest said, "Do you know what religion they were?" I said, "No," and he said, "Well, do your best and call, health department or whatever."
Yeah.
All four of us are in the elevator going down, and Ralph starts to laugh. And we said, "Ralph, what's so funny?" We didn't quite say it that way. And Ralph says, "I finally got one better than you all." And I go, what are you talking about? He goes, I got more brains than anybody.
Oh boy.
That's in
Yeah.
poor taste.
Yeah,
It's in
that's a
poor
little
taste,
morbid.
but yeah, yeah, but it happened. It
Right.
all
And now,
happened.
there's one incident when I first started. There was a smell reported in an apartment, and
Mm,
there was a senior citizen, an elderly person living in that apartment, and apparently it was one of the scorching, sweltering stretch of days in the summer. And
yeah,
when we went there, well, we went in because of the reports, and we saw him face down on the floor, and it was a hardwood floor, so you had oak planks, and he had swelled due to the heat, um, probably pretty noticeably, and all of his, I guess, the liquid inside the body had come out into the hardwood floors. So I guess it marred the floors, and I think that's we had to replace those flooring after, of course, the door was given access by the NYPD. So I think that job was pretty daunting, challenging, not because of the logistics, because it's easy to cut away those planks and put in a new one, but uh, it, because everyone knew that it was related to human body. So, but that's
This
one
was
or the
at the
other.
beginning of your career?
Yeah,
and
yep. This is one
it
of the
was
first.
1985 at 2 Lincoln. When I had, and I've had about 5 jumpers in my. I'm sorry, 3 jumpers and 2 others that just died in the apartments.
I feel like we should revisit this respectfully for a Halloween episode or something. This
Okay,
is
yeah, Halloween. Okay, so what are we
I
going
think
to
that
talk
might be in
about?
poor taste. I'm just kidding.
what
I don't know. I mean, like, yeah, it's. I guess it's for the morbid Halloween partygoers versus
well,
those
I
that.
I do think a gross out episode or a toilet episode because forget people who have passed and things like that, but because the job of the super is filled with so many gross things, and
Absolutely.
and that supers are paid to they're the people who are paid to deal with that.
Yep.
Right.
And you
Well,
got to toughen up.
Just
talking
like
about
snow.
the difficulties of being a super, but on to lighter things, at least lighter in color, snow. So uh, we just had one of the most intense snowstorms in recent history. I think the last one I remember of being this magnitude was probably like 10 years ago. If I recall, it was the one where cabs were stuck in the middle of the street, and cab drivers had to abandon their taxis to go home, and that was pretty intense. But so how did everyone fare? I just want to talk about maybe best practices of dealing with snow, how everyone did. Um, any concerns? I mean, it would be great to help the uh, the incoming super know how to handle things like this. Hopefully, they didn't start on a day like that. That would have been quite challenging. But
Well, I fared pretty well actually during that last snowstorm
mhm,
because I was in Florida.
I forgot. Right. So, and you were shoveling snow, sun, right?
Yeah, I
Shoveling
was
sun,
sweeping the
sweeping
sun,
the sun. Okay,
sweeping the sun.
okay. But how many
So,
inches was that? This snow? It was over a foot. I think it was like 17 inches, right?
uh,
15, 17
back in the
inches.
back in the day, we used to in New York City, we used to get 2 3 feet.
Right.
It used to be the snow was stacked 4 to 5 feet high, and then the garbage bags on top of it. And people used to walk across the river because that river was frozen solid. Yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
how long ago is this? And how come?
Uh, 70 in the late 70s. Wait a minute, 81,
Okay,
83,
so I was gonna
84,
say
somewhere around there.
this is
Yeah,
this is a
and
time clearly different from now. I don't think anyone would
oh
be
yeah,
walking across the
yeah,
East River, even if it looks safe.
yeah. I wouldn't recommend it, but people were using those that had skis were doing skis. They were skiing to work.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, uh, it was. I guess it's not as bad. It's always small or minimal compared to what used to be a long time ago, but it was still pretty big. I mean, there was a lot of
Yeah,
it was challenging
two
for the
feet.
guys,
So
right?
what do you do? I mean, James, how does Spark Super kind of, you mentioned at the time that you were sort of marshaling the troops and preparing. Like what do you do, and like what are best practices for handling, you know, shoveling or snow blowing at a building, Peter?
Maybe Peter can. I mean, Peter was part of
Okay.
a large footprint luxury tower, and I'm sure it was very demanding. People wanted the sidewalks cleared immediately.
Well, if your building can afford it, they can put in heating under the sidewalk. That will solve everything. And there are a few buildings that have done that. But bar that, in today there is something called a anti-icing liquid, which is it's a salt brine, about 23% of salt mixed with water, and you spray that before it snows. You can spray it 3 4 hours before it snows. When it does snow, the ice does not form. Does not form. They use it on highways now. They use it on highways, and what it does is it prevents the ice from bonding to the concrete. Actually,
Is that common? Like, is it expensive? Do a lot of buildings have that?
I haven't been in the field for a while, but we used to buy it, and not to make an advertisement for a company, but Pearl Green did have it, and we bought it from them. So if you have a chemical company, I'm sure that you could buy from them. I'm not sure if the corner hardware store would carry it though.
Right.
Maybe they do, but it's the name of the product. I don't remember the specific name, but
How do you
there's a
spray?
few out there.
Do you spray it on?
It's
You said.
yeah, you pour the liquid into a chemical spray
Right.
pump,
Right.
and you just spray your sidewalk with it.
Okay, but if I don't have that, what am I doing?
Oh, if you don't have that, then I don't know. There's two schools of thought. Pre salt the sidewalk. That's what some guys do, and some guys don't. But when you do salt the sidewalk, when I mean salt, I also mean calcium chloride. Um, Mix some sand, throw some sand down too, because the sand acts as a grit, and it gives you better footing. Um,
But it can
it makes it
become
messy.
messy, and it becomes a process. Then you have to mix the salt with the salt. I mean, salt with the sand. Uh, in a luxury building, one good thing is that if you're a resident manager, you have a full staff to help you, and you're not out there shoveling, right, Peter? As a resident manager,
Actually, yet now I'm out there shoveling.
you are too. Okay,
Yep,
okay. Oh,
and throwing a few snowballs.
right, right, right. Aside from agitating
No,
the staff trying to do their job, working hard.
it's part of the motivation. You make the
Yeah.
job a little bit of fun.
Okay.
Provide them with hot chocolate,
Yeah.
And then when you're all done, you buy pizza, and then it's a cheap way of saying thank you. And if the board won't reimburse you, the super should pull it out of his pocket.
Gotcha. It's good because they're out there, they're pounding the pavement, they're
Yeah,
clearing the
yeah.
snow. They're using shovels, or did you guys use any kind of snow equipment?
Yes. We used the snow blower when it was appropriate, and then when it was touch up, we used shovels. Another school of thought. Do you use metal snow shovels, or do you use the plastic shovels? And the metal ones tend to curl at each corner of the shovel, and that becomes a little
Happened to
bit
mine.
of a problem.
Yeah, yeah.
And the plastic ones are pretty good, and they hold up well, but they can crack.
Mhm.
So the metal ones are heavy, the plastic ones are not. So whichever works for you.
Are there like go-to brands of shovels for supers?
Not that I'm aware of. It's
Really?
just whatever
Uh,
your supplier has.
I think for residential, you have something like Snow Joe, which is like electric snow blowers, not that serious, but enough for homeowners. And like they have motorized shovels and all this different stuff.
Yeah,
But Home Depot,
if
yep.
hang on, if you're going to get a motorized snow shovel, get the battery. Do not get the electric. The electric is a pain with the cord and everything. And if you got a bit of a, I think that should give you almost an hour's worth of work. If you think you got more than that, then get an extra battery.
Mm.
Right, right.
But and also remember those snow shovels, the battery operated one, they have a fixed chute, which means it's going to project the snow forward. The electric ones have where you can guide it to the
Mhm.
left and right.
Mhm.
So these are things to consider.
But I think if you go to Home Depot, you can't get onto Home Depot shelves without having some sort of uh, quality check. And if it's on their shelves, you can pretty much know that it's a good quality, even if you don't recognize the brand. But
Well, they only have one type, Home Depot, and that's called the Robi, ROBI. That's
RYOBI,
yeah,
the
that's the brand they carry for snow shovels,
Huh.
okay.
The
Uh,
electric one.
electric or battery. I'm not sure if they have the battery. You may
I
have to
think
go online.
this snow that we had, I would say I used a snowblower, and I had mixed results. I mean, snowblowers often the quickest equipment, gasoline powered, to move a lot of snow. But in this case, the hard thing was that it was below freezing temperature. I think it was like 15 degrees while it was snowing. So the snow stayed uh, powder in powder form for most of the day. So when you were snow blowing and you were trying to direct the snow, it was once it went into the wind, it turned into powder again and blew in your face, and it was hard to control. Uh, but when later on, as time went by, that snow started to get a little bit more crystal because you had a wintry mix that came in towards the evening, and that allowed you to snow, blow the snow a little bit more um, easily. And but the other side was that you had mounting snow on either side of your path, and that made everything else harder. But what made the snow hard also, Peter, is that you had snow. The snow was all day, all night, or until midnight. It stopped and then started again Monday morning, and that made it hard because you had guys out there late night and then coming back out in the morning. So I know
Yeah.
certain buildings.
James,
What's the law? What is the law?
okay. Last night I went into my notes, and New York City rules for snow: a
Hmm,
minimum of 4 feet path from from your on your building property line from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. You need to clear it within 4 hours. So if it snows during 7 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon, after it stops, you have 4 hours to clear that snow. After 5 p.m. and till 9 p.m., you have 14 hours to clear that snow.
Hmm.
And then after 9 p.m. till 7 a.m., you need to have your snow cleared by 11 in the morning. That is the New York City rule. Don't ask me what number, where it is, but I'm sure it's in there. It's not a housing rule. It's not a multiple dwelling rule. It is a New York City rule.
So like
gotcha.
just residential homeowners, it applies.
But it's for everybody.
Huh.
So it's for
Commercial,
whether you're a large
schools.
building or a
Yep.
townhouse, your sidewalks must be clear by a certain time because you have a lot of people trying to get from point A to point
Yep.
E safely.
Also, if you have a corner building, it is you as the building owner, super managing agent, to have the sidewalk to the corner clean. So where people are crossing, it's up to you to clear it and to keep that drain clear.
Mm,
That's a good point, actually, because the corners are the parts that people miss a
Yep.
lot. Supers miss, yeah. And it's hard for
If you
people to navigate the corners and intersections without having that corner
like you have to
part
make sure
open.
the crosswalk is clear.
Crosswalk,
right.
yeah. Yeah,
So I'm going to go over a few more rules. The fire department has rules. So most of these rules are for buildings that are maybe 10 stories or less, only because of the fire ladder can only go up to about the 10th story. So one of the rules, obviously, is to keep the fire hydrant clear. It is in the fire code. Mimi, you asked yesterday, that's that. We need to keep a 6 foot wide path from the front of the building to the back of the building if it's a low rise building, 10 stories or less. If it's a high rise, you don't need that stretch. However, the rule number is New York City Fire Code 504.4. It also says that you need to keep your fire escapes on the roof. If you have fire escapes that go up to the roof, you need to have a 3 foot path cleared from the fire escapes to the bulkhead or the stairs. The door to the roof. Now, a lot of people forget this one. When it snows outside, even if you got a 40-story building, if you have doors that go to the roof, you need to make sure those doors can open.
Right.
So you need to shovel the snow and prevent it from building up. Uh, Also, it's not just for people emergency egress, but if you have an elevator machine room on the roof, an elevator mechanic needs to get up there. And if
that's a
he
good
sees
point.
that snow, it's going to be an issue. Um,
That's actually really big because I
yeah,
think a lot of buildings miss the roof because they're in a
yeah.
rush to clear the sidewalks.
And it's not just that, it doesn't come to mind.
Right.
Doesn't come to mind that, the roof door, got to keep it clear, the fire escape. It just does not come to mind.
Yeah.
In
But
the, when it's,
you gotta have a checklist, you know. You gotta have something to make sure. You can't just do it by memory.
if you are a beginning super or inexperienced super or even most good supers know it and memorize it, and then the staff memorize it too. But there's nothing wrong with having a checklist.
But I think also it helps for part-time supers who take care of a lot of buildings on a part-time basis. Uh, you may forget certain areas like courtyard where the residents go
Yep.
to drop off their trash. That's often left unattended. So
Another very, very important thing is if you burn oil, if your boilers are on oil,
yeah,
on the sidewalk somewhere, you're going to have an oil
that's true.
filter.
The filler.
I'm sorry, oil fill, a fill valve. So you need to keep that cap completely free so that the oil truck can see it and then the oil truck can unload it. There's nothing wrong with throwing some salt on it. But also on an oil tank, you have the overflow valve. And that overflow, if you're going to make sure when you shovel snow or blowing snow, you keep that overflow clear because air needs to come out and vapors need to come out of the oil tank. Otherwise, you may not be able to, pull oil. These are things that you don't think of until something happens, and then you learn the hard way.
Gotcha. I definitely think that's a thing you should watch out for. Um, Roof, oil, fill valves. What else? What else should
Fire hydrants.
fire hydrants for sure? Do they have? I forget in New York City, but they do it in other. Let's say New Jersey. I know they do it. The fire hydrants have this long, um, what do you call
No,
it,
they
stick
don't have it.
that
Yeah,
signal.
they have it could have a little flag on it too,
Yeah.
but no, they don't. It's a marker. No, they don't.
Okay. So you do have
Um,
to clear around. Okay.
Yeah, need to clear around it.
What about the intersection? I mean, this has definitely happened on my street. The intersection of the snow, particularly because it snowed and then it's still cold, so it's not going away. The intersection of the snow and the trash, right? Like it affects trash pickup, which then affects
Yes,
troopers.
got to throw the trash on top of the snow if that's the only way you can do it. Remember, New York City law also states you cannot throw the snow into the street,
Uh oh.
I didn't know
and
that.
you, and
Yeah.
it's in the code.
Okay.
I
New
broke
York,
the law.
it's the law. New York City rules say you cannot throw it into the street. The only time you can throw it into the street is when you start getting warm weather and the snow begins to melt.
Yeah.
You can then throw it into the street so the cars can smash it up and it'll melt. But other than that, you're not allowed to throw it into the thing.
I mean
The
that
other
makes
thing is
sense. Yeah.
if you have a if you, there is no law about smothering burying people's cars though in the snow.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah. I know that's a difficult situation for a lot of New Yorkers who park their
Yeah.
cars on the side, alternate street
Oh
side
yeah.
parking.
So if you know those tenants that there may be a problem, here's an opportunity to get even.
Just bury their car. Okay. Wouldn't maybe a discussion be more constructive if you're not getting along with them, or rather than burying their car and seeing their car surrounded by a building staff that's just piling
There,
snow?
there's a certain satisfaction from it though, while you're doing it. Then there's the repercussions from doing it, but
Yeah. Well,
um, for
for
another day.
super, okay. And aside from things that you can get away with during a snowstorm, one thing that you can, which is kind of nice, is that DSNY, your sanitation department, is often taken up clearing snow during
Yep.
snowstorms and after storms. So there's no trash to the curb requirement, right? That's suspended. Cleaning 18 inches out into the street is suspended. Cleaning your sidewalk is suspended. So one good thing is that you could let your guard down while you focus on clearing the snow. And
There is one thing though. As the snow begins to melt, it really behooves you to remove the snow from the sidewalk into the street by at least a foot or the width of the small shovel. Because when that water begins to melt, it's got to go somewhere. If there's snow in the curb, then that snow, the water will not be able to flow properly. So by making a channel, if you will, it will allow that water to flow much easier and better. And until the snowplow comes and pushes it all back again. But yeah, it's wise to do that.
well, that's a great point. Talk about best practices because it's not easy, right? And every building is not equal in the eyes of the storm. Some buildings get hit harder than others. Some areas get more easily subject to freezing temperatures and ice, buildup of ice more than others. Let's say the buildings along Riverside, right, along the West Side Highway, that gets really cold, and those buildings get hit really hard, and they're covered with ice quicker than buildings that are more on the inside, middle of Manhattan. You also have, I remember a building that had a large footprint, a large length of sidewalk on Sixth Avenue, and Sixth Avenue goes straight up, right, from the bottom of Manhattan to all the way to the top, and that becomes a wind tunnel, and that area can freeze quicker than other areas, at least from what I saw. And as you get traffic, people, passerby, trampling, stepping all over the snow, that compresses the snow, and it creates, helps to create ice much quicker. And then you're out there as a super trying to chop up ice, which takes much more time than clearing snow. It's a difficult situation, right? So part-time supers that have, or buildings that have to deal with snow on certain areas of Manhattan or the city. Maybe if you're along the water, anywhere in New York City, and you're subject to wind and high velocity wind, then you need to handle your snow differently than a building that's, among a lot of warm buildings in New
So you
York.
just need to be proactive and get out there as soon as possible.
Well, you would have to be, as a part-time super, moving on to part-time supers, you would have to be a much more strategic. You would have to know which of these buildings need more attention and work on how to get to them first. Is that a garbage disposal?
What is
Are you
that?
fixing something?
Oh, you hear that? They're mowing the lawn outside.
Ah, okay. We'll talk. That's
And
That's
they'll be finished soon.
okay. No, that's okay. I always find
Is it? Is it? If it's too annoying, I can go to another room.
if it's annoying
uh,
for you, or
No, I'm fine. Is it okay for you guys?
yeah,
Eh,
yeah, we're okay.
but what kind of ice? How do you deal with ice aside from throwing the salt, right? Uh,
Chop, chop, chop.
yeah. Okay. Right. Hmm.
But the idea is when it starts to snow, as soon as you get a 2 inch or 3 inch buildup, shovel it. Throw down your calcium chloride. By the way, there is dog or pet friendly sodium chloride. So if you have a lot of dogs in your building, you might want to consider using that. It's a little more expensive, but you don't want to use rock salt because rock salt will attack you and etch the concrete surface. So if you use calcium chloride, or even better, pet friendly one, great. Just spread it over, shovel your 2 to 3 inches. If you let it get too much, people will walk on it, compact it, even it becomes more of a problem.
It will etch, rock salt will etch the sidewalk,
Yes, the concrete, yeah.
and then that can be problematic because
Well, in time, it will develop, it'll look like a English muffin, English Thomas's muffin, Thomas's English muffin. They'll have
right,
all
right,
those
right,
hooks and banded. And also the salt might start to get below into the concrete. And if you do have vaults, or you
right.
may have your transformers in the ground, it's not good for it.
That sounds like a disaster.
Mm. We had two transformer, uh, kind of like a fire in our building. There was no way for us to prevent it. It was an open grate, and the calcium chloride with the snow ended up going there, and there was like a small chemical reaction. It didn't blow the building out, but,
Well, that's good.
Well,
so
that's
yeah,
Um, so the lobby gets disgusting, right?
it
How do
could,
you
yes.
how do you stay on top of that? Make sure people don't like slip and
It's
fall.
called alcohol grease. You put down mats. If it's not a very big lobby, you should have two sets of mats,
Mm,
and so you have your rain mats down. You have a fresh bucket of water. You don't need soap. You might want to put in some neutralizing liquid in there, and have them up and go over whatever areas with a dry, with a damp mop, not a wet mop.
what is a neutralizing
Well,
agent?
there's you can buy floor soap, and that'll have a soap in it. Sometimes it's lemon smell, sometimes it's pine smelling. The neutral floor soap, I guess, actually neutralizes the pH level in that salt. So if you got marble, if you got marble granite tile, it will help uh, protect the finish and protect the actual tile.
Mm,
And don't forget, if you do have the mats, to mop the mats. You can mop the mats. If you have an extractor, a shampoo machine, you should actually extract there. Once it's all done, take the mats. If you have a clean, warm boiler room, take it down there and hose them out. If you have a backyard, you can hose it in the backyard, and that's why you should have two sets and let it hang it if possible to dry or drip dry. If you don't have all that, then if you have a carpet extractor, it's like a carpet shampoo, you can suck it. If you don't have that, after you wet it, then use a wet and dry vacuum cleaner to pull as much water out as you can.
mm, mm, mm.
And those mats, I see supers buy like a 5 foot wide mat, which is about 15, 20 feet long. That is stupid because it's too long, too heavy once you roll it up. It's heavy when it's dry. Imagine when it's wet. A good length is maybe 6 to 7 feet long.
I just get multiple ones.
Yeah, multiple ones.
That's really
Because
smart. Yeah.
yeah, otherwise you guys are going to get hurt.
Right, right. Of course, carrying that is extremely difficult. Um, there's a building that I'm reminded of downtown that has exposed these. The hallways are facing are not are not inside the building. They're outside. So you have all these corridors, cement corridors, uh, that are exposed to the outside. So people would walk the corridor to the apartment, open the door, get into the apartment. So that gets hit with snow, uh, and it's a huge challenge for the staff to clear those corridors. I mean, just the wind and the snow just come in and batter the uh, the corridors, and that's quite a challenge. They used to have uh, piping in the floors that circulated, connected to a heat exchanger that created hot water to circulate into those pipes so that it would warm the floors, the
That's
corridors. But
people
years
get
ago it
numbers.
broke. So since then, because the snow accumulates quickly, the staff has to go there and clear it. Is there any solution for that building, Peter?
No, well, the long-term solution would possibly be having some sort of a plastic blind that can roll down, and you can
Ooh, interesting.
cover that. That might work, but it's not easy. Um, I remember the houses those what you're talking about, because in Australia,
Yeah.
a lot of the high rises in the early days, that's how they were. They were long hallways with a railing, and your door was off the outside. But we don't get snow there. But
How
a
convenient.
long-term solution might be to put down, something like a rolled up plastic that can come down. But I don't know if that's practical. Um,
But
if
it's interesting. I mean, it's kind of like a. I mean, there's a lot of wind right up there because you're talking
Yeah,
about also Lower East Side by the Brooklyn Bridge. So,
yeah.
but so there's yeah. I was hoping that there was some solution aside from making the hot water circulation work again. I think those pipes are cut, like cut on these
Mm.
Yeah.
floors, so just can't
You
use
know,
it.
if the snow is very light, you can use the snow blower. I mean, a leaf blower to blow the stuff off.
Ah, yeah, yeah. I've seen people do that. Yeah.
How much salt do I need? How do I calculate how much to have?
Well, let's talk about preparation then. How do you prepare for snow?
Snowmageddon.
Especially, one good thing
Dad.
is that with snow is that you always know it's coming. You may not know the exact magnitude of the snow, but as a super, if a snow catches you by surprise, um, it's really rare. Yeah. So let's say that you have ample warning, and so what do you do?
Well, first of all, it breaks down to two things: logistics and strategy.
Okay.
Logistics, got to make sure you have salt or calcium chloride. Now, you got to go by historically. If normally you buy a dozen bags of salt or calcium chloride and you're left with six, then maybe you only need to buy eight. But if you buy 12 and you're short and you need more, so then you need to recalculate how much you need of salt, of the
Wait,
calcium.
shouldn't you have it like on hand because I
Yes,
know that
yes.
there are shortages, right? Like everybody wants salt, right?
You buy it in fall,
Okay,
early
yeah.
fall, late fall, and you find that certain supply or chemical companies will have a sales on them.
Hmm. Right,
So you make sure you got the calcium enough. You might want to keep some extra because it doesn't go bad.
right.
And also, the building next door runs out, they may knock on your door and ask you for a bag or two as well.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it happens. Next in logistics is making sure you have shovels. Are the shovels good? Are they cracked? Are they broken? Are they, uh,
More,
are they
yeah.
worn? Is the metal curled? So you need to make sure that you have workable tools. Do you have an ice pick?
Oh, that's an important one because
Yeah.
most supers don't check for ice picks. Anything hard that could chop up ice.
You need a regular shovel. Now, there are many types of shovels. People call everything a shovel or everything a spade, but there's a difference. The one that's rounded in the front, that's a spade. You don't need that. You need a square shovel, 12 inches wide or so. That's so that if you need to shovel the snow, that you can actually heave it well, because the snow pushes, or the snow shovels that you have, they're only designed to push snow. There are those that are designed to heave the snow as well. But small metal shovel is really good. You should have sand,
Mm.
some sand. A lot of buildings don't use the sand, but I can tell you that the sand does work. Um, it's a little bit more messier, but excuse me, but it's in my experience has been worth. So you try it. If it works for you, it works. If it doesn't, you know,
And staffing, right? Is everyone all hands on deck? Everyone's required to head out there in the snow?
no. If you have doormen, they're not required. So also part of logistics is the clothing. Do you have
Mm.
galoshes? Do you have boots? Do you have warm jackets, gloves, that kind of thing? Once you got that, depending on the severity of the snow, if it's just regular snow that we deal with, two porters is fine, and that's it. If it's a lot more than that, then we pull out the machine, snow blower, and we may have three or four porters out there. I might be out there. Well, usually I am out there, but there are times when the handyman might be there if I'm called away, supervising, so to say. There are times once everything is over with and the weather starts to warm up, everybody's out there, even handyman and me, and we're shoveling the snow into the street so we can try to melt it and break it up so we can get rid of it fast.
Didn't you say that you can't throw it into the street?
You can't throw it into the street while it's falling. But now that if it's melting, all right, now the snow is melting.
Yeah.
Now's the time to push it into the street so the cars and trucks can
Right.
crush it up and squeeze it more, and it'll
So
turn into
Mimi,
water.
you may have escaped being a illegal um, felon.
Right.
I
Right.
I
Right.
don't.
It, it, it still might be illegal to push it into the street at that time, but we've never gotten a ticket for it.
Okay.
We have
And that's the other
we
thing I'm
have
trying to
got
getting away with it.
we have
Yeah.
gotten a ticket for with the snowblower blowing it into the street. Oh yeah, that we got a ticket.
You know, one of the
Wasn't it
thing. Yeah.
$150 ticket for it?
Wow. Okay, that's a sizable ticket. As a part-time super, right? You often don't have places inside small buildings to put salt. So one of the hard things is to try to predict the snow for the year. So a lot of times, you buy. This is, I mean, if you go back last year and the year before, a year before that, we didn't have that much snow. We probably had like one storm. It was manageable. Some small ones. So I think there's a sort of a hope mixed with expectation that a particular winter ahead is going to be the same, right? So people really, in fall, the vendor comes around, salesperson for building supplies and says, "How much salt do you need?" You're like, you know, I don't think we're going to have much snow. And I don't have that much space in my building anyway, because these are small buildings. So definitely you have to be prepared as a super. It's tricky for part-time buildings unless you have a ready supply someplace that, which I don't recommend because I'm against commingling of supplies when you work at a larger building and then you bring supplies over to a smaller building. And even if you're keeping track on it, or even if it's during an emergency, like a snowstorm, try to keep those things separate. But it's hard because you're not thinking of, you know, dead winter and a possible snowstorm, and then scrambling at the last minute to try to find salt, snow melt at the last minute. So it is kind of tough for a part-time
Have
super.
you ever consulted the Farmer's Almanac? Is that useful?
What's a farmer's almanac?
What?
I know.
That,
Is this is this kind of like Guinness Book of Records? Uh,
No.
okay.
Farmer's Almanac has
Why?
been around forever, and it is actually, I believe, scientific. I think
Yeah. What does it tell you?
yep, and you got to watch the ants,
it
do how they
predicts
move.
weather, the
Yeah.
chances of weather.
So I think two things that makes that loses its effectiveness. I think it has to change its title
Yeah.
because farmer. I'm not a farmer. And almanac. Almanac is a word that's I think phased out to obsolescence at the moment. So
They still make them.
they do? Okay.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you
Well, I
still can buy
apologize to
them.
the farmers and those who use
Yeah,
the
Where,
word
where I
almanac.
am,
good for you. It's like a huge thing. Now I have to look it up. But
and you,
what if your
hey,
staff can't? What if your staff can't make it? What if they're snowed in?
Yeah, Peter, what do you
well,
do?
interesting is if they're snowed in at home, the guys that are working in the building can't go home either. So there's your labor. So if I got a doorman who's working at 7 o'clock, he gets relieved. The guy says, I can't come to work because the snow won't let me come to work. Well, the guy that's working, about to be relieved, he can't go home either. So no problem.
Didn't you say you
No,
sometimes have people sleep over and you just
yes.
pay
The
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 overtime?
the problem becomes with the porters, because if you don't have porters during the late night, like from 11 at night to 7 in the morning, if you don't have an overnight porters, yeah, so then you would, if the snow is severe enough, you would have one or two of them come in before the snow comes in and sleep over at the building, and you pay them overtime. And we used to have blow up mattresses, I guess they called, or beds. And we had locker rooms that were warm and large enough, but sometimes uh, in other buildings, if there's an empty apartment, we would make arrangements with the agent that shows the apartment that's for sale or rent, that we can use it overnight. And if there's none of those, then we fall back onto the nicest people we know that are out of town. And we ask them, can we use your apartment for a night or two for staff? And in any case, we've never had enough.
You've had board members come down and help you, haven't you?
Yes, there are times when this is before we came up with the logistics and the strategy now of having guys sleep over. So now, if you're caught short, I mean really short, then you call the board and ask for volunteers from the board. That would be your first one. And I've never had a board member say go to hell. No, well, that's your job. The only question was
This was a
did did they get slices of the pizza, because we always supplied pizza for the staff who cleared the snow, and the entire staff actually, and hot chocolate too.
wait,
And,
Peter.
and
I'm a little confused. Is this inside like a large, fully staffed building that you would do this?
Large, fully staffed building,
But
yes.
why wouldn't they just sleep on cots in the basement?
Good.
Yeah.
Sometimes we had
No, I look, I
we
have a
had
cot behind me. I've used cots, army cots, just during
Yep,
emergency moments like Hurricane
but
Sandy.
but now you're aware of it. For those supers that are not aware of it, they don't have cots. So we became when I went through this my first time, and that was I can't mention the name of the building, but on the 60th on the west side, uh, we went through this, and the night staff couldn't go home, which thank God, because the morning staff couldn't come in. So we put them up in an empty apartment, and we had so much snow and we had a lot of property. I asked some of the board members to come down. But after that, yeah, we got cots or mattresses, that air mattresses.
Yeah.
My
So
my
not
my suggestion
recommended.
is this.
Yeah.
What was that?
I was gonna say not recommended to ask the board to come shovel snow.
Why not? Why
Because
not? It's their
they
bloody
hired
building, isn't it?
staff to.
Yeah, they hired staff, but in the time of an emergency, they gotta pull their weight. If the building goes on, if if a building goes on strike and you have union workers and they're out on the sidewalk, the residents are expected to volunteer, pull the garbage, mop, vacuum, and whatever.
Well,
That's a strike.
There is no well about it. The resident manager
yeah,
is
that is
forbidden
true.
to do anything other than his normal duties.
I mean, the difference
So,
between snow and a strike is probably sizable, right? The difference
Yes.
between those moments.
so,
Strike.
so
But
let's say you're on the board and I come to you and I say, I got nobody to help me shovel the snow. And we got 400 to 500 feet of sidewalk to shovel, 200 on each side of the street, on each side of the avenue. And I'm asking you to help. You're going to tell me in my face, no?
well, what I would do as a
And if
board
you
member is I would say,
and
look, there may be board members that are interested in helping, but let me try to find an outside vendor that is able
fine,
to come as an emergency.
good. And if you said no, I get one of these things here and one of these things here, and I write it down. You know, the building is run not just by the staff, but also in ways by the people that live there. And if people don't pitch in, like don't drop papers, pick up after your dog if he poops in the building, these kind of things. Do your share of your dividing the garbage, recycling, and so forth. If they don't pitch in, then it's going to cost more in the long run.
No, you're right. I mean, look, that's the sense of a cooperative, right? People cooperate
Yeah.
together to keep a building up and going. I mean, I think though times have changed. I think it's kind of like shareholders of any corporation really don't expect to do the work. They expect
No, they
to,
don't.
yeah,
So in a time of a flood, Katrina or whatever, when all of a sudden we're getting water pouring into some of these buildings,
right.
you're not going to pitch in and help.
Yeah. Well, that's extreme. That's extreme.
Well,
That's
And
extreme,
okay.
but and also
Yeah, but
that's
still,
why you have like so
yeah,
many like disaster response companies like
yes,
Surfpro.
and they will respond within 6 to 10 hours or maybe
No,
5 hours.
actually,
'Cause-
depending on which, there's a lot of other independent or separate companies than Surfpro that will come out reasonably, uh, within reasonable time. And even during Katrina, I think there was if you had your Rolodex of these guys, you may be able to get them to come to the building pretty fast. But I struggling with that part just because as a, you know, what's an emergency that will require you to ask the board for help in lending their own bodies, right? What's the what's the criteria? How urgent is the situation? Snow, probably
Is
not, I would say.
no, isn't fine. Then I'll start shoveling the snow by myself, and 200 feet on each side of the sun. It'll take me all day, maybe, and then when I finish, I have to start the other side again, and that'll be the end of that.
But you can call me and I'll come over and help you.
Yeah.
All right, I'd
You know,
like to.
if I can't get help, yeah, the other, you can also fall back on the second tier, which is residents themselves. Obviously, you're not going to ask a board member that you don't have a relationship with,
Right.
a positive one. You're not going to ask tenants that you don't have good relationships with. And we've never really had that. And the worst comes to worst, how many kids we got in the building? All right, we'll give them 20 bucks each.
So, all right. Like, I think, yeah.
I'd like to interrupt this podcast for a word from our sponsor, the Old Farmer's Almanac. Okay.
When you say old, is that the current edition?
No, there's actually
Or is that a
several almanacs.
1960
No,
edition?
there's one's called like the Farmer's Almanac, one's called the Old Farmer's Almanac. Okay, still going strong. I think another one closed. But since 1792, this little yellow book has guided generations with trusted forecasts, gardening tips, and timeless wisdom. Blah, blah, blah. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I'll take a look at
And-
it.
and some- And some people use their bones. Oh, I feel the snow is coming. My
Okay.
knees and ankles are
Mimi,
killing me.
but how does the Farmer's Almanac help in the question, answer the question of like how much salt you should buy before?
Okay. That I don't know, but it can help you assess how much snow is coming, which
Okay.
then you can assess how much salt to buy. Anyway, it's a real
Is
thing.
is there a maybe an AI version of that or like a Googleable so that I don't have to read the entire almanac? Maybe it can condense that information or extract the important parts for me. Okay.
What does the Farmer's Almanac say about winter of 2025 and 2026?
Yeah, let's hear it. I'm kind of curious.
Well, 26.
A generally mild winter for much of the U.S. with pockets of wild weather featuring colder than normal conditions, above average precipitation, and more snow in the Appalachians, Southeast, Ohio Valley, and parts of the West.
Okay. So
It looks
that
like it's wrong. The Northeast and Atlantic
is
corridor are
broad
expected
enough.
to be milder and drier. But you should check it out.
Okay.
Published
I-
in 1792.
Okay. But okay, going back to board members helping, I'm going to be transparent for purposes of training part-time supers, but you can probably do it, in buildings that Peter talked about. You
But-
can do it probably in
well,
some other
hold on.
buildings. But
Okay. James, hold on
Yeah.
a second. Part-time supers. So what do you got? A frontage of 20 feet, 30 feet?
yeah,
So
Well,
then
that's what
you
I
don't
mean.
need help.
I'm talking
I'm
about
I'm talking about a building that
right
has
with
200
200.
feet of
Right. That's what I'm
Right.
saying.
On each
That's
side.
understandable. But
Okay.
But in a smaller building, I think a part-time building super should know that if a board member is cleaning the front of their building, then essentially you've not done your job. And
Yes,
it happens to us sometimes, especially in the beginning of the snow season, because we may be underprepared. But you definitely want to make sure that you're clearing the snow and not a board member. I mean, unless of course we're talking about something a snow out of the ordinary, or a snow pattern that's unpredictable or that's become unpredictable. Like all of a sudden, it becomes like, yeah, like ice or something. But for the most part, snow is predictable. You may not know exactly what time it starts on the day, but you know it's going to be there, and you just have to be prepared. Yeah. Uh, my last question for Peter in regards to snow preparation is, what do you do? How do you prepare your snow blowers? Like, how did you have
Oh,
someone that came in
easy.
and changed the oil?
Now, you could do that. You could send it out, or you could change the oil yourself. It's easy enough. Regardless, you change the oil. If you've used it more than 2 or 3 years, you don't need to change the oil every year. The Spark Club, you should change every year. It's only $2, and it's easy enough. You need to check the belts, and you need to keep a few what they call what are those pins called? Shear pins. These are the pins that are on the augers. So if the auger hits a rock or something, it doesn't keep trying to spin. The pins will shear off, and the auger will no longer spin, and the blade will the shaft will keep spinning.
Okay.
Those pins are not expensive. You should keep a few of those. So Spark Club, change it every year. Check your belt. Check your oil. Make sure it's reasonably clean, or change it 2 or 3 years, unless you're using it very heavily. But I don't see that. Lawnmowers, you do use it heavier, and the shear pins. Also, where you grab,
Yeah, yeah.
on
Right,
the
right.
handle, you got those. Shoot some WD-40 down there.
Okay.
When you put it away for winter, New York City Fire Department requires you to drain all the gasoline out of it, unless there's a garage where you can keep it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
That's good to know.
if there's a garage where you can keep it, you add a little. Well, first of all, the gas that you use, do not use any gas that has ethanol in it. Use regular gasoline with no ethanol. That will let the gasoline last much longer, and the machine will perform much better. If you have no choice, fine, then you add an additive to it so you can store it. And then halfway into the storing, so like in July, pull out that snow blower and let it rip, run it for a little bit. And 5 minutes, 6 minutes, good. Put it back, and then maybe again in early fall, let it rip again, and it's good to
Right, right.
let the machine run.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also to make sure that it's running. If you have a portable generator, you do the same thing. But with a portable generator, like a small Generac or something, you should run that once a month for a few minutes. Once a month for a few minutes. But that's the preparation for it. Same thing for a lawnmower, except lawnmowers you're going to use more often, so you may need to change that oil.
Yeah.
And sharpen the blades on it. You don't have to sharpen the augers on the
Yeah, so it's good to keep an eye on that throughout the year, these equipment, because when you really need them and they don't work, extremely frustrating. Yeah, that's gonna yeah. But the other yeah.
Go on.
No, I was just gonna say the other thing is just for part-time supers, make sure that you know or plan your route carefully. Which buildings need the most help? Which ones you should hit first? Which you're gonna have trouble with traveling to? Just stuff like that. So if you can plan those out in advance, you can actually have someone help you prepared to go or nearby a local person that can address those buildings first. It will free you up to take care of your other part-time buildings.
Make friends with the super next door.
Make friends with the super next door. Correct.
And you can help each other.
Yeah, you can't make friends at the last minute. It's hard to.
Nope.
but
Uh,
you can do it over some time period of time.
Also, understand that it's part of the super's job to shovel the snow and keep the sidewalks clean. So you need to make sure, in reference to compensation for snow removal, that there is predetermined, I'm going to get $20 an hour to shovel the snow, or a flat fee, $100 to get rid of the snow. It's not good to have to shovel the snow and then get nothing for it because it wasn't pre-discussed. So, my
But
opinion is
isn't it like just part of the super's job, like in the job
yes.
description?
But now I'm there to do 20 hours a day of work. Well, I just spent 4 hours
A
of
week.
shoveling snow. So now you're only going to get 16 hours.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And let's face it, come on. For the board members, Super's doing his best he can. What's $100 or $50 or whatever to shovel the snow? Is that a big deal?
I don't know.
It goes to motivation. It's not.
Yeah. But often in these buildings, it should be understood that any kind of snow event with substantial inches of snow, let's say beyond 3, 4, 5, 6, you should compensate your super
Yeah.
part-time super, especially if he's coming at night to comply with city guidelines. If he's
Or
coming on
twice
a
a
holiday,
good point.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Let's say
It's
Christmas Day
but
or New Year's Day.
but it should be all predetermined or agreed upon.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. Um, okay,
James,
great.
we're after
Thank you.
noon.
Yes. Sorry, didn't realize that snow would take up all of our time, just like it's taken up all of our streets. We missed, you know, next time we should talk about poor dog owners, what they should do. Uh,
Uh, James, if people have questions or comments, they should perhaps email us or something like that to, if they have a question that we
yeah,
haven't answered or they went past them. Email.
I, yeah.
Email James.
I think we'll put up our emails, and if you want to reach us, you can always ask questions. You can always leave a comment on YouTube, and we can get to that. Although it's going to be exposed to the rest of the world, or
Be
whoever's
sure to
listening.
like and follow.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's the outro. Okay, that's our signal to log off.
Yep.
Thank
And
you
tell
very much.
everybody else about us.
I'm sorry. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Everybody.
You guys are actually doing the outro. We're going to say thanks for listening to Good Morning Super. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow the show and leave us a quick review, or a comment, or a question. It helps more people discover the stories behind the city's buildings. There we go. Until next time. Okay.
Goodbye,
Take care.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.